AOC is one of the most intelligent, competent, smart.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Let me turn down this monitor here. All right, ready to go, ready to go. Welcome aboard, all my peeps. Welcome aboard. I see in the main chat, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and Facebook, we've got Patrick Magner, who won the contest today. He was the first one in the chat, followed by AVQ, also watching from Twitch. We have Yvette Avery Herod, who came in third from, let's see. Oh, I started wrong. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Joanne from Los Angeles, California. Jay Ray from Houston, Texas. I got Paul already. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. And we also have Eric Hayes at Tascasita, Kingwood, E2247 from all over. Patrick Fuel, Biofuel. Yes, we can get into that biofuel thing we were supposed to speak about. And of course, we also have Anthony Lofranco. Let's do the biofuel after my first two videos. I'll since we're going to do the biofuels, I won't do the long video. It's in the chat. We can do that. Laguna Beach, California is Anthony Lefranco. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Let's go to our Substack folk. A lot of folks on Substack as well. Chuck Myber, Dana Bennett, JB. If you put your city and state, I'll be able to call you out by that. That's what I usually call out. Earl Brownlin, Beverly Alexander, Cheryl Elkins, Karen Mello, Police, Berenice Mousens, Barbara, Daisy, Cat, John A. Joe, Terry Dion. Welcome aboard to Politics and Right. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. What are we going to cover today? Well, I don't have it inside of my daily coast yet because things kind of got low on me. So we're talking about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and what she did to those Republicans. We'll show you why this woman is exceptional. We're also going to play a video from David Frum. David Frum, it gave one of the best descriptions of how tariffs affect real people. And we are going to talk about, well, the long video is the one about what should I call it? I did it on I cleaned it up from a live Substack that I did today, and it's titled "The Biden tape, sadly, along with his cancer diagnosis, is creating mainstream media distraction again." Of course, I want to give brother Biden, former President Biden, best wishes, get better. Let me tell you something. Don't let the bad stuff from folks get under your skin. Jane B says she's from Mooresville, North Carolina. Great to have you from Mooresville, North Carolina. Love North Carolina. In fact, I love the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party who I interviewed her. I think her name is Clark. Can't remember her name. The Democratic chair from North Carolina. Clayton. Clayton is her name. Clayton something. Let me look it up. Anderson Clayton. I interviewed her. She is a young woman, wonderful, articulate, smart. And at the time I interviewed her last year, I think she was just 25 years old. And she has really helped turn around the Democratic Party in North Carolina. Love her. Anyway, you can check out her interview that I did here. Go to my YouTube channel and just put her name in. You'll see the interview that I did with her. Wonderful interview. Anyway, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see if there's anything to read before I get started. We got Michael Rudnin says WBAL Supreme Court allows Trump administration to strip protections from some Venezuelans. The court's order puts on hold a ruling from a federal judge in San Francisco that kept in place temporary protected status for the Venezuelans that would have otherwise expired last month. The justices provided no rationale. The status allows people already in the United States to live and work legally because their native countries are deemed unsafe for return due to the natural disaster or civil strife. The case is the latest in a string of emergency appeals. Let's see what else. The Trump administration has moved aggressively to withdraw various protections that have allowed immigrants to remain in the country, including ending temporary protection for 600. That terrible thing. J. Ray is in the house from Houston, Texas. Welcome, J. Ray. Paul Fleming says Representative Clark, Republicans have set Trump's budget hearing for Rules Committee at 1 a.m. If you have a bill that you are proud of, you do not hold it at 1 a.m. But you know what? We will get it recorded, baby. It'll be covered by C-SPAN. We'll make sure to get it recorded. All right. Lee the Bearcat says people demanded all investigation or probes into Biden be stopped due to cancer reveal, right or wrong. Look, first of all, that is old news. I don't know what they're trying to do. It's a distraction, which I talked about on a live that I did earlier today. We also have Paul Fleming talking about 66 tons of food are rotting away in USAID warehouses thanks to Trump and Doge. That's enough food to feed more than 1 million people in the world's poorest countries for 3 months, including over 480,000 kids. And then they claim that they are pro-life. No, they're not pro-life at all. Let's see what else we get. Oh, that's great. I'm so glad to know, and I will listen to it. Yes, Jane B. It's a great interview. She is a very smart woman. All right. We also have E2247 19. He says, day 591, at least 53,272 Palestinians have been killed. My God, E2247, that number is far off now. It's over 100,000. I read a report. I think I posted it. Over 100,000. 29 U.S. senators have co-sponsored resolution 224 calling for an end to the Israeli blockade of humanitarian assistance in Gaza. Look, let me say something about this. I think it's high time that I do. Um, I think it's high time that I do. Let's be frank here. There are so many things around that we allow the media, or we allow our government through the media, or the corporate sector through the media, to tell us that what we're seeing isn't what we're seeing. There was a terrorist attack that killed 1,200 Israelis. Horrendous, terrible, bad. It was a terrorist attack. Granted. In the process, uh, Israel has used that as an excuse to effect a genocide on Palestinians. And I repeat, and I say this with no, and I say this because that is exactly what you see. They have completely bombed out with our tax dollars, bombed out Gaza, destroyed Gaza. We don't know the tens of thousands of people that are living under those rubbles, that are smashed dead under those rubbles. We don't know the amount of people that have been murdered. We don't know that when you cut off water and electricity, that's an international crime. That's a crime against humanity. But because they are aligned with the right country, nobody gets to them. The hundreds of thousands of injured, 100,000 or more murdered, killed, dead. They had nothing to do with the terrorist attack on Israel. Nothing to do. And if you want to know what foments hate between people, let one country continuously play the victim role as they are the ones with the power to annihilate another. Look at the pictures side by side. Tel Aviv is a beautiful city with skyscrapers. What has actually been done to anybody there? Tel Aviv, Haifa, Jerusalem, all these places intact. Netanyahu would have you believe that there are terrorist attacks coming in and harming our Jewish brothers and sisters. That is not what's happening. But a few miles away in the Gaza Strip, it's almost like he's strip mining the buildings, just knocking everything down with the people, hundreds of people dead constantly. But they're telling you that the terrorists are the Palestinians. Why don't you see what your eyes are telling you? Why don't you believe what your eyes are saying? We have to get there, people. We must get there. Otherwise, we lose our humanity. You know, this isn't something that has just been done to the Palestinians. It's not something that has just been done to the Palestinians. You know, sometimes I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, and bear with me because this hurts. And E2247, thank you for your constancy in bringing this information out for us to talk about. Thank you for forcing me to talk about it, a subject I don't necessarily want to talk about because there are always consequences when you talk about these issues. There is a consequence of folks wanting to call you an anti-Semite. My friends are Jewish. I'm sorry. And most of my Jewish friends agree with everything that I'm saying right here. This isn't a Jewish issue. This is a murderer, a murdering, a murdering genocidal issue by Netanyahu and the right wing in Israel. This has nothing to do with Jews. Nothing. Absolutamente nada para ver con los judíos. Nada. And let's go a bit further. We have to start opening our eyes. We have allowed a person to come into even our own country and say we are fighting for national security. We're fighting to maintain order because of those others who are the ones who are not orderly. And then we look at the people who the police goes after. We look at the people that are harmed. Okay, we look at those who are harmed. Let's go from different groups here. Black people, you must fear them. Be scared. The big black guy, he will harm you. That's what your mind, many of your minds tell you because that's what's been instituted in your mind. The Palestinians, as soon as you see that brown guy with a cape, he's a terrorist. That's what they've taught us to think. What is so interesting is if black folks were so darn dangerous, how is it that it was so easily to enslave them in America, in South America, in Central America, in the Caribbean? Aren't these violent people that just out for revenge and get out? How could South Africa, a country where there were 70,000 or so black folks and 70 million black folks and only 7 million white folks, and somehow they weren't murdered and in power? And even as they've controlled the country now, everybody's free. There is crime, but those violent, dark-skinned folk aren't creating any issues. I want all of my audience, and specifically my white audience, let's start teaching ourselves not to believe the fears that they institute on you, because the fears that they're instituting on you, there is a purpose. If you fear the other, then they can take advantage of you. If you fear the immigrant, if you fear the Palestinian, if you fear the black folk, if you fear the Chinese folk, if you fear these guys, so scary. And that's why we have to have law and order. No, it's a mind game. It is a mind game to control, not to control black folk, not to control immigrants, not to control these others. After all, these folks are already kept under burden. It's to control you, my white brothers and sisters. This whole thing, racism is not against the black folk, against the Latino, against everybody. It's you they have to control, because it's you who they must have in check to believe that this economic system is viable. It is you they have to control. And it is you they have fearful. It is you they have with, oh my God, this is going to happen to me. And that's why I have to just murder and kill all these Palestinians. That's why I have to find that cop who murders that guy in the inner city. That's why I must find him innocent. Because if I start finding him guilty, my life is in danger. People understand who is actually getting attacked here. It is my white brothers and sisters. This is not on the others. The others are accustomed to being maltreated. That is a genesis of them in America. That is a genesis of them in the Western Hemisphere. But the only way to control you is to have you in such fear, that you start to act out. Let's break that cycle. And again, I want to thank E2247 for kind of changing the subject and have me illustrate this. And look, if there's anybody who has an issue with what I just said, I want you to know this is your program. And I want you to call me or text me, or meaning write in the subject line, or rather in the chat for Substack, or in the chat for YouTube or Facebook. If you really want to, or if you want to engage live right now, call 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. It's the number on the screen. If you want to add to what I've just said, if you want to detract from what I just said, please call. I am always willing for the civil dialogue. It's what's important, and it's what's gonna save us as a country. Welcome aboard, Harry Denson. Glad to have you here. Let's see what else have we got here. Paul Fleming says North Carolina Lawrence Academy has never reported black enrollment higher than 3%. A county whose population is around 60% black, a small school with less than 300 students. It receives $518,000 in vouchers. Again, it's a ripoff. Absolutely. I understand that. I understand that. Okay. Let's see. Joe says, "What of now is not the distraction; it's pure, simple horror." I hear you, Joanne. I hear you. Macaroni says, "Egberto, the official wartime death toll in Gaza is 53,000, but the real death toll, including from starvation and disease, including uncounted, who haven't been found under the rubble, likely exceeds 200,000." I read that. Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard, Bruce from Kingwood, Texas. "I blame Washington for allowing Gaza to happen. It is hard to believe that security was so bad that they had no idea that September killed. They had an idea. Two women that were guarding the post reported it, Bruce. Netanyahu knew this was coming. They knew there were plans out. They disregarded the two women that reported it. It's all of that is documented by Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper. All of that has been documented. All right, let's see what else we got here. Anthony Lofranco says, "On tariffs looks like a grift from the start, but even if just his stupidity, media simply keep getting him slide." Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, let's go. Charlie Lindell, talk to me, Charlie. How you doing, my dear brother?
Hey, as an OWG old white guy, I hear you, and I agree
Talk to
with
me,
you.
brother. Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Okay, let me throw a completely different topic out. I sent it to you, but I wanted to let people know there's a thing coming up at the end of May called PlantCon, which is an international plant conference. It's going to be held at NRG. It costs $35 to get in. You might want to check it out.
Tell us what it's about.
It's an international conference about plants, how to grow them, what they are, all kinds of things. And it's an international conference. They move around the world. Anyway, sorry, I didn't want to get too far off topic, but I did want to mention that.
Since you mentioned it, I want people who hear you to actually know a little bit about what's going on. Well, I appreciate that, my friend.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say plantcon.org. And it's got the complete website there.
Thank you very much,
Charlie.
Sorry about that.
I do agree with everything. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. You agree with everything that I said, and as being an old white man, brother, I love Charlie. I love Charlie, old white guy. For being an old white guy, I mean, let me just say this, Charlie. It is important for my old white guys to actually speak up and let folks understand this isn't an anti-white thing. This is an anti-corporatist thing of the people that are trying to separate us. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my brother. You have a good one.
Thank you for
Take care now.
You do. Okay,
peace.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's see who else. I got somebody coming in. UTD Special Advance. May I help you?
Hey, hon, it's Alicia. How are you?
All right, how can I help you? This is Politics Done Right.
Yes.
You're calling a radio show, ma'am.
I do apologize about that.
That's all right. All right. Okay. I do apologize about that. Anyway, folks, let's see. I tell you what I'm going to do. Is there anybody else that wants to call? Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Before I go to the tariff tape, My brother Patrick wants to call in and talk about the biofuel issue we talked about a couple mornings ago. So let's do that. And then we'll get back on topic. But I do want to cover the biofuels issue. I think it's apropos. So, Patrick, if you will, can you go ahead and give me a call now? Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that. And then I'll go to the tariff call and then the Alexandria Ocasio Cortez call. The other tape we can do tomorrow. All right. While I wait for Patrick to call in, let's see what else I've got here. Michael, there was peace thousand. I don't know what you're saying, dear brother. Michael said Eric doesn't know that Israel bombed the heck out of Gaza in 2014, but the horror. Okay, here we go. My brother Magner, come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good afternoon. How was graduation?
Oh, graduation was great. You know, it's great to see my godson. He already had a bachelor's degree, but he always wanted more. And it took him some time, but he went and got his master's degree, which was something that I just loved. I'm going to merge a call real quick. I think I can get this. All right, I think I'm merging the call. All right, go ahead, Patrick. I think we have Joe on with us as well, but go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, how much time do I have?
I think this segment we can do in about 4 to 5 minutes with Joanne. So let's go ahead and do it.
Okay, we'll start with this. We're trying to avoid additional CO2 in the atmosphere. Brewing corn for alcohol does not do that for you. It
Right.
adds CO2 more than it reduces. There's also some moral issues that we need to ask ourselves. In a global economy that struggles to feed the most poor, do we want to start taking food and burning it for fuel? The fuel costs more than food, and it commands more money than fuel does. And so our acreage is going to be devoted towards feeding combustion engines instead of ourselves. And it's already moving that way. 40% of the corn in the United States is converted to ethanol, and they're projecting it being closer to 90% at 2035.
Let me ask you something. Can I ask you something, Patrick? Because I don't have the answer
Sure.
for this. So, you said that as far as corn, but there's this other type of ethanol called cellulosic alcohol, right? Which doesn't use food; it uses waste carbon-based type woods, etc., to manufacture. Where are we in that type of generation of alcohol?
We aren't devoting any technology towards it or any development towards it because the corn is subsidized. Trash is not. Trash
Okay.
will have to sort,
Uh-huh.
and it has to be treated. And they don't have a whole lot of reason to do that because it's not profitable.
It's producing carbon.
Hold on a second,
carbon,
Joe.
Either way.
Joe, I'm going to come to you after Magner.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, Patrick.
We don't even have to get into the burning of carbon aspect. If you look at biodiesel, that is produced off of rapeseed oil, which is a palm plant, which they level the Amazon forests and other forests around the world. Those are old growth forests. They have CO2 that are locked into the biomass of the jungle, and when they take that down, they burn it. So they burn tens to hundreds of years of CO2 that's been sequestered, and then they can use those fields only for a few years. And when those fields are exposed to sunlight for the first time, it kills off all the beneficial bacteria, which also yields CO2. And then after they're used several times, they're depleted and they're no more beneficial for growth of plants or biomass than a desert is. And then another statistic that we all need to really wrap our heads around is 45% of the green stuff on this planet, 45% of biomass on this planet is already devoted towards feeding us or our animals. And there's just not too much more space for that. They don't think it's possible to grow 50% or more biomass and commit it
Yeah, continue,
So
my friend.
there's nowhere else to go. So you have to make the decision. Well, am I going to feed somebody, or am I going to fuel a car? What I will agree with is biofuels do bring more oxygen to the mix,
Hmm.
which means if you do put in 5 or 10% in with your fossil fuels, you get a more complete combustion,
Hmm.
and you'll reduce particulate matter, and you'll reduce um, carbon monoxide and other less desirable gases. But there's almost nothing about switching to biodiesel or a green bioenergy economy that's even possible, let alone ethical.
Okay, now
I
I'm going to ask you
I,
to do a bit more research for me on one issue because, and again, like I said, I'm not disputing. And Zizi, I have you on right now. I'll come to you after Joe. Now, I'm not going to dispute anything that you've just said, Patrick, because I simply don't know. But I'm going to ask you to do a bit of research on algae, the algae plants that they're testing out right now that also give biofuels. In other words, photosynthesis for the algae, and then that gets converted into oil. I don't know if you did any research on that one yet.
I have quite a bit, and it takes fresh water and it takes pumps to oxygenate the water,
Uh huh.
and it is inefficient. It still takes more energy to as an input than you get out, and that's another problem with agriculture, is that we're putting 10 to 15 times the kilocalories worth of fossil fuels into these operations as we're getting out.
Okay, I'm
So it
glad you
would make
raised
Coral
more
reefs
that.
provide
more
oxygen too.
Oh yeah,
it would
let me.
it would take
I'm
it would make more sense.
Yeah,
Go
let me
ahead.
just say this, Patrick, because I want to move to the other callers. But here's what I want to do.
Okay.
I am glad that you brought that information, and I want to know a solution. Is there any way that we can create fuels that aren't fossil fuels that is energy efficient? So, and the next time we talk about that, I'm gonna be calling on you again. All right, Patrick.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Joe. Joanne, our beautiful
Uh,
lady from Los
hello.
Angeles, California. Talk to us. What's up?
Nuestro Señor la Reina de los Señores. But anyway, first a joke because he was talking about biofuels.
Mm-hmm.
Walk, take a walk, and build your gluteus maximus. Because that's how most should.
All right. Don't go there, Joanne. All right. Tell me what you call it
I
from, my
mean, come
dear.
on, man. Everybody. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
playing with you.
You know
It's
what?
fine.
I just made myself laugh so much I
And you
can't.
made me laugh.
No,
You
I do
made me
remember.
laugh. Okay.
Okay, I knew the prince. I was the babysitter for the Prince of Saudi Arabia for a couple hours, only one time. And that boy, who was 14 years old at the time, terrified me more than any human being I have ever met. And Trump is so out his league.
Yeah, we
That's
know.
all.
We know he's out of his league. But thank you very much for that, my friend. Anything else before I jump to ZZ?
No, have fun.
Well, look,
Bye.
thank you for first of all, I want to thank you for calling in, and I want to thank you for being there diligently every morning and afternoon. We love you, and you
Wait,
stay
let me
cool.
say one more thing.
Real
Anyone who
quick.
is scary is not as scary as that man
There
when
you
he was
go.
even 14. Oh, okay, bye.
Thank you, sis. Let's go to Zizi. Come on in.
Hi, how's it going?
You're Zizi, right? I assume because I said call now. So you're Zizi?
Yes, that's me.
All right. Talk to me, brother.
Well, I was listening to some of the points that were being said, and
Mm.
I honestly, I I couldn't believe the lack of, I guess, information that was being said regarding. I mean, I just came into this, but like the biofuel,
Mm-hmm.
I I have done quite a bit of research on that, and it is sustainable if you spend enough time and technology like investing into it as much at least as we do for fossil fuels, you will get a much cleaner, sustainable energy as a result.
Okay, Pat, there's one thing that Patrick point out, and Patrick point out that in current development, that more energy is
Right.
put into getting, in other words, the amount of energy needed to create bio, let's say diesel, or create. Well, I know biodiesel is debatable because a lot of times they use fried chicken oil and all that good stuff to start it, and then they put through a chemical process to break it down. So let's leave
Can I
that.
interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Can I interrupt
Patrick.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you use that stock for biodiesel, it's very easy to do. But what you're doing is you're robbing other industries of a waste that they use. The ester-chains that are used in that are used for makeup and numerous other things. So if they don't get them from that fryer oil, they will get them from crude oil.
Oh, are you saying
Can I
that?
show a statistic that'll blow all of this out of the water?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Azizi.
If you go to NASA Live Eyes on Earth, there's a website that NASA has that shows the globe. It's like a live satellite image of Earth. If you put on the filters and put on the CO2 or the air temperature filter, you will see that everything that's being said right now kind of doesn't, I guess, make sense, because it's no longer the question of should we be using this. It's if we continue down this route, we are all going to die.
Okay, let me back up. I want to, because I think I know where you're coming from, Zizi, and tell me if I'm correct. I think you may have the wrong impression of Patrick. Patrick is a green guy. Okay, he believes in alternatives, etc. So I mean, I think you may be coming from a point of view that you think Patrick isn't. Patrick is a green guy. What he's saying is the current technologies that we're using, and Patrick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the current technologies and the current implementations just are not sustainable based on the inputs that go in. He's not against green energy at all. Am I correct in what I just said, Patrick?
Yes, it's not that it's not possible. It's that capitalism won't allow it because the choices that are good aren't highly profitable. I put almost 500,000 miles on 4 different Mercedes diesel 300Ds over about 15 years, and that was when I was working in restaurants and I was using fryer oil. And I didn't even have to do anything to those cars because you can run straight fryer oil. All you have to do is clean it. But no, I mean, I was challenged on this numerous times, and I've done enough research, and I had enough people telling me that what I was doing was not good, and I challenged them over and over, and I failed.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing again, and I think Zizi was just coming from the point of view that I think he thought you were one of these oil guys.
Yeah,
Am I
that's my
correct,
bad.
Zizi?
I want to apologize for
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
off like a little hot off the
Oh
handle.
Oh
no,
no, you
no,
didn't.
it didn't bother
I
me at all.
I just detected it. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say probably where he and I can agree is that a use of some level of biodiesel is good in ethanol, and that's when you supplement it, like I said earlier, into fuels, which we are doing because it lowers particular matter, and it also increases overall combustion. So it gets closer to complete combustion. So it is good for something, but to try and completely replace a fossil fuel with it is not a good idea, and it's not even possible. You have to look into the absolute mass of fossil fuels that we use, and you can't produce that even if we all starved and we didn't eat and we used all of our food for fuel. We still wouldn't make but a 10 or 15% dent.
So I think what we're saying here as
Yeah.
well is that we have to get into really making efficient use of solar power, wind power, wave power, hydropower, all the different
Right.
forms of power.
Right. That's what exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and
Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say using green energy like wind energy to charge a battery is a much better idea than biodiesel or fuel, in my opinion.
No, actually, but you know what is
Right.
interesting? Remember, the reason biofuels the whole idea behind biofuel is that it makes the current combustion engine still viable, right? Now, if we didn't have to be running with combustion engines, etc., we were all electric. Electric is what I call the great abstractor, right? Because it doesn't matter how the electricity was made, that electric car stays standard. It's a great abstractor. But hey, I want to do some videos, guys. This was an entertaining and good discussion, and this is what we're here for, to get all of us more enlightened. And thank you, Patrick, for coming on and taking the conversation from the morning show to enlighten us here on the afternoon show. Okay.
I appreciate ZZ's call. And then one other thing, it's going to be off topic, but the Saudi Arabian liquid natural gas facility that's going to be built in Louisiana is going to hurt every single one of us, and that's probably something to research next.
I heard about that. Thank you, brother. I got to go, guys. Thank you all for calling.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Ellen Gannon for this comment. Ellen Gannon on Substack says, the human DNA is 99.9% identical. We're all one regardless of color, creed, nationality. Ellen from Carmel, California. Let me put that even a step further. Ellen, thank you for that statement. But you could find, and this I heard from Degrassi, the Tice Degrassi, the physicist or the astronomist, and he points out, if you go to Africa, the difference among the people in Africa is much different than, it's much more diverse. Imagine this, than, let's say, the people in the United States, being white, black, or whatever you are. You're closer to the Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you. You're much closer genetically. In fact, the diversity in genetics is different. It's amazing how stupid racism is. Amazing. And that comment coming from you, Ellen, is just what people need to not only say or hear, but that is what people have to absorb in within. And that's where, let me just say, that's where I am. I love everybody. Now, when I say love, I'm talking about I feel everybody's pain, whether it gender, that kind of a stuff. I've grown there, and that is where I wish more people would grow to be, right? And a lot of our audience, that's where they are. Anyway, I want to give you guys, Frum is a conservative that I've always have issues with, but man, he couldn't have gotten it any more right here. And I want to play this for you. I've written a whole lot of blogs and articles, done a lot of videos and shorts on why Trump's tariffs are terrible, especially in the way they are implemented. And I've also pointed out many other tricks that the Trump administration has been using to to make the poor pay for government as the rich continue their parasitic behavior. But I really listened to what David Frum had to say over the last couple of days and what he's written in The Atlantic. And I don't think a probably 3 or so minute segment, anyone has expressed it any better, because he not only spoke about how it works, but he gave it context with the poor relative to the rich. I want you to listen to this because, again, David Frum is a conservative, and I don't agree with him on a whole lot of things. But my God, he nailed it better than any other conservative or progressive could with this little piece right here. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
David Frum, you write about the 4 scams. Explain.
Yeah. Well, the scams are the fake deal with China, which is no deal, the fake deal with Britain, which is no deal. But I want to pound home a point here as people watch this, because why is the stock market up? The stock market is up because Wall Street has figured out Trump's tariffs, although bad for many people, are not going to be bad for them. Who are they bad for? And this is where we have to understand what a tariff is. A tariff is a tax, but it's a special kind of tax, and it's special in 3 ways. First, it's a tax that can be imposed by the president at his whim. All other taxes imposed by Congress to represent the people. Tariffs can be imposed by the president at his whim. It's a tax that can be exempted by the president at his whim. He can sell special favors. If you want to break in the corporate income tax, you have to get Congress to pass it. But if you want to break in the tariff, just ask the president, buy his meme coin, give him a jet. He'll make a special favor for you. And last, it's a tariff that falls uniquely hardest on the poorest section of society. A tariff is a sales tax, but a sales tax that only falls on goods, not on services. It falls on the doll, not on the nanny that is hired to play with the doll. It falls on the towel, not on the swimming club. It falls on the doorknob, not on the doorman who operates the door. It falls on the poorest people in society. A 10 to 30% tariff isn't going to cause shortages. And it may not push the whole economy into recession. What it does do is take it raises prices for working people, and it takes the burden of government and it moves it from people who are better positioned to pay onto the people least positioned to pay. So you have to combine this tariff story with what the Republicans are doing in the House, where there's going to be giant tax cuts for everybody, financed in great part by these tariffs on low-income people. Last image. Think of a rich family and a poor family at dinner. The poor family, the table is tariffed. The chair is tariffed. The plate is tariffed. The knives and forks are tariffed. If they're eating pasta, the pasta comes from Canada. It's tariffed. Now the rich family, they go out to dinner. The most important, to celebrate their new tax cut from Donald Trump. The most important cost at a restaurant is the rent, not tariffed. The second most important cost, the wage of the chef, the wage of the server, not tariffed. And the plates, they're tariffed, but they come from Italy. So they have a lower tariff than the plates that come from China. This is the most aggressive attempt to shift the cost of government from the rich to the poor that America has seen in the past century, maybe longer.
David Frum, what is the appropriate political response?
The appropriate political response is to discover the cause of free trade. There's been a lot of mealy-mouthedness from Democrats on this. Democrats have liked tariffs. Donald Trump, the most protectionist president since World War II. Joe Biden, second most protectionist president. A lot of Democrats say, I'm against these tariffs because they're dumb, but I'm for smart tariffs. The answer is to rediscover tariffs are a tax that falls heaviest on the poorest people. They're a tax that is the most dangerous tax because it's the most arbitrary tax. Tariffs are wrong. Free trade is right. And raise money. If you're going to raise money with a consumption tax, raise it on one that middle-class people pay by taxing services as well as goods, a VAT or a carbon tax. But don't make the people who are eating spaghetti on cheap chairs, on cheap tables, with cheap plates, with cheap knives, don't make them pay the cost of government all by themselves.
Kudos to David Frum. There's a couple of things that he missed, right? He spoke about those companies that are able to make deals with Donald Trump so that they don't pay the tariffs, and that's why the stock market is up, and etc. What he doesn't point out that there is a section within the business community. These are people that are fairly well off, but they work their business. They're not parasitic like corporations. You know, I really do a number on corporations because, again, they are parasitic in nature. They are the borers of indentured servitude and what I call antiseptic slavery. And I mean that. When I talk about it that way, a lot of people think I'm being hyperbolic, etc. I am not. I distinctly mean what I said about how corporations actually function. Now, for those who think that somehow I'm anti-business, I'm not. I want you to see the businesses that will get hurt, because these are the businesses that I support. These are the businesses that make America function. These are the businesses that employ more people than any of these major corporations, who get all the benefits from our tax dollars, who get all the benefits from ripping us off our resources, from oil to carbon to natural resources that should naturally belong to we the people, that they extract and they profit from and give crumbs to the rest. Again, the businesses that we should really be concerned about are the smaller businesses. Think about it. Thousands of businesses are about to go out of business. These are well-off people. Some of them are millionaires. Some of them have been doing their business. They make a good living. They employ people and pay them a good price. But these are people that import small amounts of products from China and from other places. That is the base model of their business. And now, when major corporation is able to make a deal, remember what Frum said, they will be able to make a deal and not raise price. Bessette called the head of Walmart and said, hey, eat some of these taxes, etc. Keep the prices the same. What do you think Walmart's going to do? Walmart is going to say, you know what, I can actually do that, because in sort of keeping some of the prices the same, the competitors that are the small businesses, they won't be able to do the same, because they don't have pricing power. They don't have volume. They don't have any of that. So they'll go out of business. And as soon as they're out of business, then I can fly. Then I can raise my prices. Big corporations say. Brothers and sisters, the con that the oligarchy is putting on in fold right now is one that is not only going to hurt the poor, it's going to hurt that middle class or that lower class wealthy person who owns a small business that is dependent on bringing little glass bottles from China, bring in some plastic bottles from China, things that aren't made here in the United States anymore. These companies, many of them, their owners work hard, part of the business. They've amassed a well-deserved and earned fortune, but they're going out of business because, again, that's how this game in a plutocratic system is played. David Frum, his description did a great job. The one piece missing is what happens to that small business. All right, I want to go ahead and play the Ocasio-Cortez video real quick, and then we'll close out with a couple of your comments. AOC is one of the most intelligent, competent, smart, and young, articulate congresspersons in the House right now. And, before she won her election, I remember I was at a Netroots conference, and there's this young lady who came up to me and said, "Hey, would you like to interview this young," I forgot what it was, an organization getting all these young Bernie Sanders and other folks elected. And I said, of course, I'd like to go ahead and interview her. And I interviewed AOC, and sadly, the mic was picking up a whole lot of noise. And I stopped her again and I said, "Hey, we got to do it over. Can we do it over?" And she was, "Oh, sure." And she went ahead and did the interview over with me. And I told her, she was running against Joe Crowley. And Joe Crowley, the intent was that he was going to become the next Speaker of the House. And that's who she's running against. And nobody expected her to win. So I interviewed her, and you guys can find the interview on my YouTube. I interviewed her, and I was so impressed with her that I am the first person. I looked her in the eye and I said, "We will be calling you Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez." And she was so, "Oh, really? Thank you." It's amazing the rapport that she had there, the respect that she had there. And again, she went ahead and gave the interview again. I understand why the Republicans try to completely disparage her, try to bring her numbers down before she's even attained much, because they see what I saw then when she beat Joe Crowley in her first year to become Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Talk a little bit about the ways that for this next generation of women leaders, things that are the same, things that are different, hopefully.
I think we're at this moment where the models of leadership are expanding exponentially because there are more women, more people of color, more LGBTQIA folks who are taking power. And what I write in When We're in Charge is how to integrate that, how to integrate your style of leadership with who you are, how to do it authentically and genuinely and humanely, but also effectively. Because I think there's a common misconception that to be an effective leader, you kind of have to be crappy to the people you lead. And I make the case, and I think I've seen that to be true, you don't have to be.
So we were just speaking of AOC, and she was involved in a tense exchange with Republican Congressman Randy Weber early Wednesday morning. The Texas Republican interrupted her while she was asking if women who have miscarriages would still meet the requirements to qualify for Medicaid under the GOP's proposed bill. Let's take a look.
All right. We'll yield to the gentlelady.
Thank you. In terms of some of the exemptions, pregnancy is covered, correct?
May I interrupt? I'm glad you're addressing us instead of speaking to the camera.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Given the Dobbs decision and the fact that many women in many states are forced to be carrying.
I'm gonna have to stop. I'm gonna reclaim my.
Okay. What about miscarriage?
Thank you.
What about miscarriage?
I'm reclaiming my time. Thank you. I just want to make the point that we'd like for you to address the Republicans and let's have a dialogue this way and not to a camera. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
You know, speaking of where we are addressing and who we are addressing, there are 13.7 million Americans on the other side of that screen right there. Hello. Hello. I'm talking to you because I work for you.
That's right.
And they deserve to see what is happening here. Because there are plenty of districts, including Republican ones, where 25% of your constituents are on Medicaid, 40% of your constituents are on Medicaid. And yes, I am.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I am talking to them, and I will not yield because it was a terribly disrespectful comment, and I will not yield to disrespectful men. Thank you very much.
So the Congresswoman is a remarkable communicator. She is among the most talented of any generation. But it occurs to us that she does represent maybe a younger generation that's just simply better in this media landscape, knowing how to play to the cameras, knowing how to use social media and the like. Is that part of the ability to communicate, which is that part of what, say, Democrats need to do so differently going forward?
It's why we need next gen leaders, because millennials and Gen Z, again, not exclusively, but generally speaking, because we have grown up on the internet, because we have always thought about how to cultivate a public persona, we understand, and as AOC did, understands you got to look in the camera. You got to talk to the people about what you're doing. And we see this in business, we see this in schools, we see this across all different kinds of sectors. Folks like AOC who are taking power show that they know how to do it differently and tell their story differently. And that's so important as we think about galvanizing people to take action.
So yeah, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they fear her. And if you know, she knows how to use the current media. She knows how to use the old media. And in fact, there was a time that she was going to go into, I think it's West Virginia, with the West Virginia politician who thought he was going to somehow scare her when she said, yes, I'll come to your state. And you know, after saying she'll come to the state, the guy copped out and it didn't happen. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for all of those who think she can't be, mark my word, just like she beat Joe Crowley, she'll, whatever she chooses to do, ultimately, she'll get it done. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. I got a message from Yvette Avery Herod that says, I have noticed over the past couple of weeks an increase in UPS customers having to pay tariffs in order for me to deliver their package. The range has been $150 to $300. Shame, shame, shame. We also have Pamela who said, let's see, Pamela, I saw something about APAC that I want to read. I think it was Pamela who mentioned that. Let's see if I can get there. Yeah, there we go. Pamela R. Daniel says, APAC donates bribes millions to our government officials and to many other organizations as well. And, you know, they also try to punish folks. You know, how many of those arrests likely had their genesis with? Now, Cheryl Elkins put out a very important piece of a little segment that was stuck into the bill that pretty much tries to have the legislative body control the judiciary. That's not constitutional, and it's something that likely the Supreme Court will strike down, even as it's trying to give other orders. I mean, that violates the separation of powers. So I don't think that can fly. What else have we got here before I close out? Once again, the poor are subsidizing the rich. That's from Cheryl Jones in the Substack chat. And let's see what else I've got here. Egberto. I didn't know AOC is what got you to start watching politics then, right? I love that then. I love that. I love that. Let's see. Yes, they are cutting jobs and closing buildings. We don't have stores, but they're doing this before the tariffs. They are buying other companies at the same time. Pure corporate greed. Exactly, Yvette Avery Herod. You nailed it. It is only about corporate greed. All right. I got to get out of here. But before that, I want to ask all of you who are listening to the program right now to consider becoming paid subscribers of our newsletter. That is how we fund everything, not only our 2 radio shows, but also our articles and everything that go out there. The whole infrastructure is based on our videos and as well our newsletter. So please, please, please support us however you can. But the best way to support us is becoming a paid subscriber, which costs very, very little. Again, there are alternative ways that you can support us. You could support us via our Patreon. Our Patreon is politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. You can find all the different methods of supporting us by going to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support, and put in those in all the chats as well. But again, the preferred method that I am asking, because we need to get 600 new paid subscribers as soon as possible to get me some help in here with all the stuff that we do. So I'd like to ask you again, una vez más, one more time, to support us by subscribing, becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. It's less than getting us a coffee. Less than getting us a coffee. I know you can do that. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. Love you all, every single one of you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what?
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.